I'm Ginny Metheral. I'm here today to talk to you about sigils. Now, I really know what I'm talking about here because I am a 4th generation witch. So I literally learnt this stuff while sitting on my mother's knee with a grandmother in the background doing some weird stuff with tarot cards. Now, in today's video, I want to take you on an introductory tour of sigils, how they're used in witchcraft, how they're used in magic, and whether you can use them today as part of your craft. But before we get into this, I have a special guest star. Now, this is a bit of a hero of mine, so I'd like you all please to be upstanding and saluting for Sir David Attenborough.
Here is the magnificent Ginny Metheral, one of the few witches left in the wild. Subscribe to her channel and protect her future habitat.
Sir David Attenborough, everyone. Isn't he marvellous? We love him. Better do as he says. So, let's get straight into this video. So what exactly is a sigil and why would you use one? Well, a sigil comes from the Latin word sigillum, meaning a seal. And originally it was just a symbol, a pictorial representation of whatever the person who drew it meant it to be a representation of. Later on, in the medieval times, it came to mean a demon's seal. So you could use it in magic and witchcraft to protect yourself against demons or to call them forth, depending on how you felt. Anyway, I thought it would be best to explain this by taking a quick look at the most famous seal that you probably all have come across at some point in your lives, and that is the pentagram. Now, as you can see, a pentagram is merely a 5-pointed star surrounded in a circle, and this is used by so many different cultures. It was first recorded and first known about in 6000 BC. That's 8,000 years ago. I mean, it's so far ago, we can barely think about it. It's practically the Stone Age. Actually, isn't it? It might be the Stone Age. I'm not quite sure. Possibly the Stone Age. And the Sumerians used it, and we don't really have any documentary evidence about what they used it for. We possibly think it was astronomical. It might have been the 4 corners of the earth combined with the vault of heaven represented by the 5 points. We just don't know. We haven't got any clue, in fact. We just know that they used it. It was obviously very important to them. Bit like the Pythagoreans. Do you remember Pythagoras and the golden ratio? Does anyone remember that from school? I'm not going to explain it to you, but it's something to do with maths. But the pentagram was used as their sigil, the Pythagorean sect's sigil, to represent the golden ratio and how marvellous it all was, etc., etc. The ancient city of Jerusalem in the 2nd century BCE used the pentagram as the seal for their city, the sigil of their city. And as a result, it became associated with the Jewish faith, who believed that their great King Solomon had it engraved on his ring. As a result, the Mormons took this up and put it all over their temples. They had an upside down one, which was the original way that the seal was used by the Jewish faith. The Christians, of course, then took it over, as is the Christians want. They loved anything that was in high use by other cultures and liked to annex it and take it in for their own, say, well, actually it was us. They used the pentagram as the original cross symbol before the cross became the popular symbol for Christianity. They thought that the pentagram represented the 5 wounds of Christ, which were, considered a very big deal in those first few centuries after Christ died. The pentagram then became a magical symbol to the Christians and was used as protection. And by medieval times, they had started adorning their churches with it. Some scholars think that this was in reference to previous pagan situations that they used the pentagram for, which it might well possibly have been. We don't really know. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, if anyone know that Arthurian tale, Sir Gawain had the pentagram as his sigil. However, by the late medieval period, the pentagram had fallen into disrepute, and certainly by the 1800s, in European culture at least, it was considered a sign of the occult, which the Christians got a bit shirty with this because, quite frankly, that was one of their faith symbols, and now it's used for occult purposes. Especially with the publication by the renowned French occultist Stanislas de Guaita, if I pronounce that right, his book, Le Clé de la Magie Noire, which is the key to black magic. By this time then, the occult status of the sigil of the Pentagram was completely confirmed. This was really confirmed when the Church of Satan and Alphaeus, I can't pronounce his name, it's quite ridiculous, Alphaeus Levi, yes, that's it, Alphaeus Levi, designed the Sigil of Baphomet, which was a pentagram, within it the goat, the sabbatic goat, and this then became the symbol for the Church of Satan. So how were sigils used? Well, they might be used by a magician who would say, call forth a demon using this sigil and bind the demon's power to the outcome that the magician wanted to have in his spell or magic. It might be used as a ward, so people would often inscribe it on walls or houses or outside doorways to ward off that demon who it represented, or that, evil spirit, or just as a general protective charm. Sigils had different purposes, and so the ancient sigils are very, very useful for this, like the Triskelion, which you might use as a sigil for future events moving forward. Or there is the Horn of Odin, which I would use as a sigil for plentiful and great bounteous outcome to your spell. Modern witches today can use these sigils. They can either use the ancient sigils that we know so well about, the Pentagram, the Triskelion, the Troll Cross, one of my personal favourites, or they can make their own. And so what I wanted to do now was to show you a quick way of how to make your own sigil. It's not difficult, and it is something that we can all do. The basis of making your sigil is to put your intent into a drawing. Once your intent is in that drawing, you're putting your magic, your impersonal prana and energy into this drawing, which makes it part of your spell. So sigils can be really simple. You can start with an absolute basic sigil, which is, say, a circle. Almost when you think of casting a circle in as part of your protective charms, when you're a witch, when you're making a spell, if you cast a circle, essentially you're casting a sigil, aren't you? You're casting a seal onto the ground, you're putting your intent into it so that you can work within it. The more complex your sigils, the more complex the spell can be. So let's have a quick look at a spell that I might make. Say, I would like to protect my cat from being run over. So I'm going to start by drawing a representation of my cat, and I think she's got the most beautiful eyes, so I'm going to draw an eye to represent my cat, maybe a nose, some whiskers. Yes, I think that looks a bit cat-like, doesn't it? And then I'm going to put her in a circle, because this is a circle of protection. And so this will ensure that nothing can get to her. And then I'm going to put, say, the wheels of the car around the outside of the circle. But they can't touch the circle, because I think that that would mean that they were touching the cat. And hey, voila, I now have a sigil for protecting my cat. So hopefully this then will protect my cat from being run over. Bearing in mind that my cat is not human, I would then put this sigil under her blanket or her bed or wherever she slept the most, because then that protective charm will, go forth and help her. The cat, that is, not someone else. So let's do another example. I really want to help my friend Vicky, who's been trying to sell her house for 3 or 4 years with very, very little success. I'm going to represent Vicky as a V, like that. And then I think I would like to represent her breaking free from her house by flying away. And I think that can be represented by the symbol of a bird, like the one that you draw as a child in primary school. And then I'm really keen for the people who buy her house to be happy there. So I'm going to draw a basic house symbol here, and in it I'm going to put a smiley face. And there, that is my sigil for selling your house for Vicky. Now, the best place to put this sigil would be underneath her doormat, or to inscribe it on the door so that anybody coming in to view the property with the purpose of buying it will fall in love and think, yes, please, it's mine. So each sigil has its own magic. It's because you put that magic into it. And the easiest way to use any magic is as a charm. So you write down your sigil, you then give it to the person who the sigil is for, you know, whether it's for their protection or whether it is to help you do something, maybe get a job interview. You can even inscribe the sigil on your skin. So you could do a small sigil just on your chest or something like that if you were going out and you wanted to find love, for example. So you could attract love to you with a sigil. It's one of those charms and magic uses that you can use anywhere, because all you need is a piece of pen and a paper, and you can do magic absolutely anywhere. It doesn't require any ingredients, it doesn't require any preparation really, apart from your own wishes, desires and intents. And once you've got that, you have your spell. They're terribly easy and very useful. So I hope you like this video. I really enjoyed making this one actually, and so if you'd like me to make another video on Sigil Magick, because it's quite a big subject, there is certainly a lot more I can tell you about it, let me know in the comments down below and we'll take it from there. Otherwise, please give me a thumbs up and do some subscribing if you haven't already, because otherwise you'll miss out on the great Ginny Metheral. So here is my sigil for you to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video.